From Mamma Mia, welcome to The Spill, your daily pop culture fix. I'm Ksenia Lukic.
And I'm Laura Brodnick.
And today on the show, we have found the most hated boyfriend on television. The Summer I Turned Pretty star Jeremiah is packing some serious heat. And we dive deep into Britney Spears' latest Instagram post.
But first, as a little treat, because, I'm sure everyone's having a tough week. It's Wednesday, the weekend. You can see it in the distance. I just wanted to throw in a little midweek movie recommendation.
I love this. Now, I know nothing about this. This was a surprise for me.
Yeah, so it's a movie that just dropped recently on Prime Video, and it's called The Map That Leads to You. I know, what a sexy title. So it's based on a book of the same name, a best-selling book. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is I think it just has a lot of little elements that make it the perfect kind of weekend watch. Or if ever, everyone's just searching for a good movie at this point in time, but not always something that you have to really focus on or something like that. It's not a background movie. Don't watch it when you're cleaning.
I was just about to ask,
don't watch it when you're cleaning.
While I'm cleaning?
That's what podcasts are for. So you can listen. You need to have your eyes, especially because this one is filmed throughout Europe and it will make you feel like you're on this European summer holiday adventure. So you need to be looking at it. You can't just be watching it.
Okay, so what I do know about it is that it is based on a book. Mm-hmm. It's a book that has a huge fandom, romantic,
yes,
a bit walk to remembery.
A little bit without sort of giving away the ending. But yeah, there is that element to it. And the reason I want to bring it up is one, because I just think everyone's looking for a fun movie and this is a good option to have. But also I always post on my Instagram what I'm watching and little things I find, and I got the biggest response when I posted on Sunday that I was watching The Map That Leads to You and recommending other people watch it. I got 20 replies of people saying watching it now, love it so much, and another 20 replies of people saying I just watched this and I'm obsessed with it. So I thought we could all be obsessed together. So one interesting thing is that it stars two actors from very beloved / sometimes slammed teen shows. So it's got KJ Apa from Riverdale. Did you watch Riverdale?
KJ Apa.
Yeah, and he's using his real New Zealand accent.
Oh, he's using his Kiwi accent because in the book, I actually did do a little bit of it. I was just pretending to be surprised. The guy is actually a Kiwi.
Yes.
So KJ Apa, perfect casting.
I know, because he didn't get to use his New Zealand accent all the way through Riverdale because he was playing the ultimate kind of American guy, Archie. So that's really cute. And Madeline Klein, who is from Outer Banks, plays the female lead. So her name's Heather, Madeline Klein, and she's on this big European adventure with her two best girlfriends from college. And they've all just graduated college, and she has her whole life planned out. She's going to move to New York. She's got an apartment and she's got a job in finance because she feels like she should be a real adult now. And this is their last big adventure. And then on this overnight train, she meets KJ Apa's character, Jack, who's just, wandering around Europe. And he climbs into the luggage bin overhead to sleep there. And then they start chatting because they're both reading Ernest Hemingway. It's a whole thing. And he has this old map from his great-great-grandfather, a journal of his adventures through Europe. And he's going around and visiting all those places. So they start to fall in love and their friendship groups intertwine. And then they set off on this adventure together to follow this map together and start falling madly in love. So that side of it's really cute, but there is a bit of a serious story bubbling away in the background.
Sounds way better than my last train trip through Europe where I fell asleep on the platform and got my passport stolen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, look, there is passport theft in this.
Okay.
So you might feel right at home in this movie. You might be like, this is me happening on screen. But also it's that whole thing of you go to Europe, you meet a handsome stranger, you have this wild adventure. Most of us don't have that on our European adventures. So even though I was watching all the, I was thinking this time last year I was in Europe and I was in half the places that they were showing. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Didn't meet a handsome stranger, but that's okay. So it's just a fun time. And I just feel if you're looking for a movie on a Friday night or a Sunday, it's the perfect thing to kind of sit down and make you feel like you're in Europe. And also feel you can just watch two hot people make out. And what else do we want in this world?
Laura, I am going to pull you up though.
Okay.
Because according to your rules, this is not a weekend watch episode.
It's not, and this is not a weekend watch episode. This is why we're allowed to have a midweek. This is why I put it in here specifically.
This is just LB's rules.
This is just, no. We can have a midweek recommendation. Our weekend watch episodes, they drop every Friday at 6 a.m. Thank you for asking. They have to be new things that have come out. So this has missed the deadline. So this can't go in weekend watch, which is why it had to have its own little moment. But I just love when a book comes along and it has a little bit of a cultural moment where, and also it's that kind of sad teen lit that had a real moment a couple of years ago, like you're saying with Walk to Remember, and all that sort of stuff where like
Fault in
there's
Our Stars.
Yeah, Fault in Our Stars. What do they call it? Sicklit? Yeah, that's the term. Yeah. And so yeah. But can I say this is Sicklit light.
Okay.
Because there is something happening in the background, but you don't see it. How do I say this? You don't see it play out the way you would have in a recent movie called My Oxford Year on Netflix, which is also about two hot people falling in love in Europe, and then one of them
carks it.
This is a bit more like that's something we'll deal with way in the future, in the vein of their romance. So anyway, I just thought it was a cute time. I love watching hot people make out in Europe. It's a genre that I really can get behind.
All right, it's on the list.
It's on Prime Video also, I should say, to watch it. Prime Video.
Okay, so I'm not going to pretend because I am not a Summer I Turned Pretty fan, even though the entire office is, minus a few of us, we are just outcasts in the Summer I Turned Pretty universe. However, I do know something about someone called Jeremiah and everybody hates him. Yeah. Laura, you have to fill us in.
Yeah, if you're a Jeremiah lover, which I think is about 4 people in the world, you better duck up for cover because it's not safe for you at the moment. So The Summer I Turned Pretty, it's always been popular. It's in its 3rd and final season now, but this final season, it has really taken off into this immense fandom to the point where not just everyone I know is watching it and building their weeks around it, but there's all these watch parties across Australia because people want to go and have a communal viewing experience, and they're all selling out. Like, you can't get into them anymore. So people are now having their own watch parties. It's intense out there. So they're based on the books by Jenny Han, who is also the showrunner. And it's a story of this girl called Belly who, the only way I can say it is that she was meant to be ugly as a child, and then she comes out one summer to this summer house that she's been going to every year of her life, where these 2 hot brothers. She spends the summer with them, and one summer she comes and she's really hot and got boobs and doesn't have her glasses anymore.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah,
it's
beautiful.
Puberty?
Yeah, so we love romance. And then she basically hooks up with both brothers, and this final season, I know, and we did do a whole episode on sibling love triangles that we'll link in the show notes, because look, this is not the only time this has happened.
No, it's not. It seems to be a weird trope in cinema. However, now what I understand is this season 3 premiere is a couple of years after the previous season.
Yes.
And Jeremiah has cheated on Belly twice. And then proposes to her.
Yes. So a bit of a time jump. So she was mostly in love with Conrad, who's the older brother, and then she ended season 2 with Jeremiah, who's the younger brother. There's a time jump. So they've been together for many years in this last season. Look, like I'm defending cheating. Jeremiah technically cheated on Belly. Well, not technically, he did. I can just feel the fans like breaking down the door of the apartment that I live in to kill me for saying this. So he and Belly were on a break. Classic.
Oh, stop it, Ross.
Classic. I know. I love how, like, as much as like decades pass and new TV shows come along, we're all just dealing with the same drama over and over again. They were technically on a break. Well, he thought they were more on a break than her, and he hooked up with one girl twice. Does that make it better?
No.
And then he told her, and then they broke up, and then they got engaged.
Okay.
Kids today.
Yeah, kids today. So I've seen some of the memes out there, and people are like, what
people
the hell?
Hate this boy. His name is Gavin Casalengo, although he might change that going forward because of the hatred. And what's interesting about this is that we're already a few episodes from the finale, but way back at the beginning of the season, just before the show came out, the network who makes The Summer I Turned Pretty put out all these warnings to fans, basically saying no hate speech, do not attack this man, please remember these are fictional characters, please remember this is a fictional world, and please do not basically abuse people and send them death threats because of the character they play. And can I tell you, that warning did not work.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, like, this is not the first time this sort of thing has happened, but I read what Gavin said. He said, I don't check Instagram anymore, so I haven't seen that much hate. The only thing that I see is my sister sending me the memes that are really funny, but people are sending him death threats.
Yeah, look, I understand that he's trying not to ignite the situation, and I do feel for him because people have taken it really far, because it's not a normal love triangle. You know, like in a really good love triangle, and I love a love triangle. I know you do too. Not in real life, although that can be fun, like a fictional love triangle. But it's a good love triangle. You kind of want both characters to be appealing. Like, you want to be able to swing either way. And there's people really have their big fandom of which one they love. In this one, 98% of people want her to be with Conrad and love Conrad, even though he's got problems too. He's a bit of a sad sack. And then people hate Jeremiah with the fiery passion of 1,000 suns. So it's not a normal kind of love triangle.
It's so interesting to me because that basically tells me that Gavin's just a really good actor.
Well,
But doesn't when people are so invested in a character that they turn to the actor playing them and reach out and are like, I hate you so much. It kind of says a little bit about how believable that they are as a character.
Normally, yes. And I'm not jumping on the Gavin hate train because I do fear for that poor boy's safety. But sometimes in interviews and things, he does sort of speak like Jeremiah and stuff. And the thing is, you're not meant to hate him. You're actually meant to like him. So he's not supposed to be a villain. People have just decided they hate the way he speaks. They hate the way he wanted a particular wedding cake for his wedding, like stuff like that. He's not actually they don't hate him because of the cheating stuff. They hate the way he speaks and the way his face moves on screen. I'm not laughing. It's so mean. And then they hate the actor for portraying him because they think he's a bit of a douche in real life is what's happening.
Okay.
And also when he's saying like he doesn't see the hate, he kind of does. Like he's been in the comments, he's seen things. Also, when they first did the press tour, he would walk out on stage, all the fan events, and get booed so intently. Security had to go out and like get people to calm down.
It kind of reminds me of Jack Gleeson, who played Joffrey Baratheon in Game of Thrones, who is an excellent actor.
Yes, that is a case of being a good actor.
That's kind of where I was coming from. But basically, Joffrey Baratheon, notoriously a really, really awful character, both in the books and on screen. Everyone was very happy when he died of poison. Sorry if you haven't seen it yet, but I mean, it's been a number of years. It's probably time. But when he died, everyone was like thrilled. But the amount of hate that Jack Gleeson got, he actually came out and said, I'm quitting acting. I can't deal with this because it was too intense. And to that point, I'm like, that poor boy who's done this role since he was a child, done an excellent job of portraying this really awful character, but then it translates into his real life, which is actually just really sad. And it's not the first, again, there's like multiple examples of this happening.
Yeah, and that is when people do. I mean, obviously people shouldn't be booing and sending hate to Gavin from The Summer I Turned Pretty because they don't like the way he speaks. But I think it's really different with Jack Gleeson from Game of Thrones because, again, he came in and did exactly what he was supposed to do, which is make people hate him. And people would, like, follow him through the streets, like, when he was still a child actor, screaming abuse at him. People would send him, like, awful death threats. People would line up at conventions to terrorize him and he'd have to be, like, taken from the building with security. Those people need to be locked up. That is crazy. And I'm a big fan girl of things too. I understand getting too emotionally involved in TV shows. But if you have driven and like if you've done admin, that's the thing. If you've done admin to bully someone, that you've like booked a ticket, organized parking, packed a lunch just to go and terrorize a child, then you should be locked up.
So I interviewed Alfie Allen when he came out for Game of Thrones when he was Theon Greyjoy. And Theon Greyjoy, also another really hated character in Game of Thrones. At this point, I think he was Reek. He had kind of that character shift had happened. Yeah. But I think I really hated him as a character, but then meeting him in real life, I was very much aware of the fact that he is not Theon Greyjoy. He is Lily Allen's little brother.
I think he'd already be called a villain. He hates when people say that.
I know he does. I didn't ask him about it because it was specifically requested not to. But yeah, it's funny. I think when you've got to be able to separate that. Like, I mean, I know we were talking about you don't like being separating characters, but sometimes I think in this case it is important to separate the characters.
I don't want to see characters as human, but the caveat on that is that I don't go and abuse them online. I just don't follow them on Instagram. And I think that's the healthy thing to do because, fandoms are crazy. It kind of made me think also of like Vanessa Morgan, who came into Riverdale playing Tony. And when she came on, people thought she was going to disrupt like the Jughead and Betty Cooper storyline, even though she obviously ended up getting with someone else on the cast and people loved them together. But she said when she got on the show and she was coming in to be be this antagonist in a love story that she started getting death threats as well. And the thing about that is like there's not a lot of protection for actors when that happens. It has to be like, oh, well, if they try something, we'll stop it. So she went through that whole season of Riverdale being like booed in the streets, getting death threats, having to like monitor her socials for like real life threats, all because people thought she was going to kiss Jughead. That's crazy behavior.
It's insanity. So I think the moral of this story is fandom is great, but just maybe take it down a notch.
Yeah, and I'm worried for Gavin's safety as we come into the last few episodes of The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I speak from real life experience because on this very podcast, all I said innocently once was like, I didn't dislike Jeremiah. I actually thought he came across very well in one episode. And holy hell, I have said way more controversial things on this pod. I have said things that probably warrant like a bit of backlash. All I did was say, like, I don't think this man is the devil. And I have never had such an avalanche of hate against me for saying that. And I stand by it. I actually don't think either of them are great choices, to be honest. But she'll end up with one of them. We all know which one because the book's already written. But yeah, it's rough out there.
Don't spoil it for me,
it's
Laura.
It's rough out there. I know. I'll spoil it for you. Like, you'll be like, I don't know who these people are.
Seriously.
So I always find that Britney Spears and sort of where she is at now in her life and career is a really difficult topic to cover, only because I feel like we went through this huge cultural moment with her when she was sort of seen to have this big fall from grace and that she was this scandalized pop star who had all these problems. And then over time it came out what was really happening behind the scenes with her being in this conservatorship and the strings that were being pulled behind the scenes. And then there was this moment where I think so many people across the world, like both old fans of hers and new, really joined together in this kind of what people saw as like a big freedom fight, this thing of we're going to free this woman and she's being held captive. And it's like everyone thought they were knights in shining armor and she was the princess up in this tower they were going to save. And obviously there were so many terrible things happening to Britney Spears behind the scenes. And when her conservatorship was lifted and she was allowed to regain some control of her life, that was a really positive thing. But I feel like over the years since that has happened, there's been this sort of disappointment from fans and fans turning away from her or new conspiracy theories because she sort of continues to live a life where the videos she posts from home are ones of her dancing or speaking in like a manner where people can't understand what she's saying. And it's like she hasn't been this sort of perfect rescued victim that people wanted her to be.
I think maybe turning away from her is not quite, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I feel like it's almost like it's just this like added concern because the posts, and we have seen this for years now, the posts are concerning and people are genuinely worried for her. And the most recent one was in an Instagram post where she was basically completely naked, which has now been deleted.
Mm-hmm.
But what people really caught hold of in this was the comment attached to the post itself. The comment that she made was in relation to her marriage to Sam Asghari, who they were married for 3 years. He has said nothing but lovely things about her. And she says, "We're just people so fragile and human. The hardest years of my life were my 2 sons gone for those 3 years." And she basically talks about how this marriage was just a distraction, which the whole thing is incredibly sad. So they got married in 2022. There were a number of big profile celebrities there. I think Drew Barrymore was there, Madonna was there, but none of Britney's family was there, including her 2 sons who she was estranged from at the time. So she's basically referring to this moment in her life as being a really sad time for her, which is so contrary to what Sam has said about their relationship.
Yeah, and so sort of different to how that wedding was taken at the time, because I was looking at the video she put up with and I was looking at the caption. Like you said, it has all been deleted now, which is something that she often does, especially when the comment section starts firing up and people start getting angry, is talking about the marriage being a distraction and her saying, "I don't know why I did that," and kind of removing herself from the situation. And why I thought that was interesting is that wedding was seen as like like a group success for the world, because she and Sam were together for so many years throughout the conservatorship, and he was sort of seen as this like ally who would stay with her through thick and thin. And not like previously to the conservatorship, she'd had a few different boyfriends, like a paparazzo she dated and all these sorts of things, who were sort of looking to be like mooching off her and exploiting her. And word on like the streets of Hollywood where they lived was that Sam would get approached to do tell-alls on her and he would always say no. He would get approached like sell secrets on her. He would say no. He was an aspiring actor, and I guess people did know him as being Britney Spears' boyfriend, but he was always really strict in interviews that he wouldn't speak about her. So everyone thought he was like this diamond in the rough who was like truly in love with Britney Spears and would never cash in on her name. And so when they had their wedding, because it happened after the conservatorship ended, and some of the details from the conservatorship was that she wasn't allowed to get married, that she wasn't allowed to have a child, like she had no autonomy over her body. And so everyone saw her wedding as like a celebration of freedom more than a wedding. And it did look so glossy. I don't know if you remember like looking at the pictures. It did look glossy and beautiful, and it's this fairy tale wedding. And it seemed so beautiful until you sort of like this caption made me think of like behind the surface, it seemed like a really lonely thing for her to go through, because she didn't have her family there. She didn't have any of her old team and friends there. And those pictures of her with all those celebrities went viral. But if you look at who was there, like, yes, she's been friends with Paris Hilton for a long time and they were truly friends. Drew Barrymore and her have had a connection. But other celebrities, like Selena Gomez went to that wedding and she had never met Britney Spears before. She was just going because she was invited along with a whole bunch of other celebrities and she wanted to be supportive. And we now know that so many people in that room had never met Britney before. Like, they weren't her people. They were just there to fill the room.
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole kind of, you can be in a room full of people and feel really lonely. Like, people in New York often say that New York can actually be a really lonely place. Even though there's millions of people there, you're just kind of very, very isolated. What I do think, though, is Sam is a class act, because he actually responded. People reached out to him for comment. And he said, our marriage was very real to me. It may have been short, but we were together for 7 years. I was in love with her and will always have love for her and wish her the best always. Quite frankly, that man has not spoken poorly about her. He has not sort of tried to cash in. He said a couple of things about Kevin Federline.
Yeah, which fair.
But yeah, fair.
But he's a professional dad.
Honestly, I do think he's a class act with the way that he's handled this. Like, he could easily be out there trashing Britney and saying all these behind the scenes things and talking about why people are concerned for her, but he's not doing that. So it's really sad to me that that's the way that she felt in that moment of her marriage. But perhaps that was, her way of trying to escape from this kind of prison that she had been in for so many years.
Yeah, I feel like when you first got your like autonomy back, access to your bank account, you could do whatever you wanted, that you would have a wedding as a way to kind of like, and I think a lot of people do want a wedding and not a marriage. And so they want the big party and they want the celebration. And she went all out with the fairy tale details. There was a carriage and a horse and all those fairy lights, and she had a princess gown and this princess cake. And then it was all ruined anyway, because remember how Jason Alexander, her first husband, who she married for, was it 55 hours in Las Vegas, broke into the home and live streamed it all, broke into the home saying he was going to win Britney back, and he was arrested and charged with all these different things and was also threatening her. And even that at the time, people were like, oh, we love a bit of scandal. We love her like ex-husband coming to win her back. And it's like, the spin was so crazy, because I'm like, he wasn't standing outside with a boombox and a bunch of flowers being like, Britney, I love you. He was like live streamed breaking into her home, and he got in through all of the security that Britney Spears had around her mansion, made it all the way into the home, and then was saying some pretty threatening things. And even that people kind of made into a bit of a fairy tale. It was wild looking back on it now.
Yeah, and I know we are quite sort of conscious about talking about Britney because it is such a loaded topic and there are so many things that we don't know about. But yeah, it's really interesting that she talks about this time in her life that people viewed as being so happy and joyous and wonderful. Now her talking about it being like one of the worst periods of her life.
Yeah.
Like,
and
it's
again, not
just
saying that the
tragic.
wedding was, yeah, exactly. And not saying the wedding was one of the worst moments of her life, but more so because she had that estrangement from her sons, which she still has to an extent. Like, she has seen them over the years since then. But then there's this awful thread that, like, once they get to a certain age, the money that she's paying Kevin Federline to look after them, then she won't legally have to pay parental support. So this idea was like, Kevin Federline and her sons just trying to, like, get back in her good graces and play on her, like, wanting to see her kids because they know the gravy train's about to end.
Well, yeah, as soon as they turn 18, that money that Kevin Federline's getting, which is why I think he's writing the book, but that's a whole nother topic. Maybe that's just my opinion, but, you know.
I think that's a pretty universal opinion.
He's about to lose
all his income.
All of his income, his monthly stipend that he gets from her, his spousal support, his child support that he gets. He's about to lose that. He's got to cash in somehow. But I just feel so sad for her. I just feel like the whole situation to me is tragic, and that poor woman has had a life that is just the biggest warning against child stars, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it continues to be a hard conversation. And I do think that, like, a lot of people have pulled back on reporting on every time she posts a photo or a caption. Obviously, this one because it involved her saying something about her wedding she hasn't said before and Sam responding. I mean, I don't know about Sam Asghari. Like, I don't know the dude, but and a lot of people have loved him on reality shows he's done and stuff. But I also think that he just knows that if he trash talks her in any way, people will not have that. And he's so trying to build up his own stardom that it could just be because he's a really nice guy. And I want to believe that that's true. Or it could be because he knows that that's not the area for him to play in. And that anytime he goes on a reality show and he interacts with other celebrities or anything like that, they were like, oh, Sam's really lovely. I didn't know him about this or that and stuff. And so
you think it's
he's
an act?
Building up. I don't know if it's an act. I just think that he's playing a clever game where he's capitalizing on Britney's fame, but he knows not to. He knows the worst thing he could do is to say anything bad about her or allude to anything or anything like that, because then he instantly stops being the sweet guy that was with her for 7 years, and then he becomes, and he would be a villain if he did that, if he trash talked her in any way.
And it's very cynical of you. You're usually such a romantic.
Well, I mean, this world has hardened me. And watching what happened to Britney Spears has hardened me. But yeah, I do think, I mean, again, I don't want to speak for, I don't know this woman. I don't know what's happening, but I do feel like people are very sad because they're like, oh, she's in this, like, tragic space, and we don't know that. It's just that her life after the conservatorship doesn't look like this princess fairy tale happy ending that people expected.
Yes.
And so therefore they think it's bad. But I do think the fact that people are laying off her a little bit is a good thing.